we're gonna try out some of this wild Rwandan washed coffee. This is my first coffee from Rwanda, but I'm guessing it's pretty unique because it is gonna present in pineapple and lemon as the taste profile. We'll see how much we get out of that when we do a taste right after roast today. I'm very curious. I'd love to be able to offer this at market with the little bit I have. So let's get to it. All right, gonna get started with zeroing out our container here. This is kind of a modified just metal tin that I use to pour beans in, and zero that out on the scale. We're gonna look for probably 450 grams for our very first roast of this Rwanda, so that I can get a bag ready and so that I can taste some myself with what is left over as far as weight is concerned. So let's look for 450. And we'll call it there at 451.6. All right, we're preheating the roaster. The Aillio Bullet is awesome. I can get reliably 1.5 pounds roasted at a time. And this should only take 8 or 9 minutes, I'm guessing, to get a nice light roast that presents that profile of pineapple and lemon and other tropical flavors pretty well. So let's get to it. All right, I know this isn't gonna make a whole lot of sense, but this number here is our rate of rise. That is how fast the temperature is climbing. And we're going from 118 degrees on the bean temp itself. This is measured by an infrared thermometer. And look how fast that's climbing, 120 degrees on the bean surface temperature, 122. So the rate of rise correlates to how fast this temperature climbs. Now, when you pour beans in, it starts off with a high rate of rise, and as the temperature kind of settles, that temperature and rate of rise will come down a little bit, and you're looking for about 10 on that rate of rise number. Here it's labeled drum temp, but we have it set to show rate of rise. When we get down to about 10, that's when we got to start controlling it a little bit more minutely. Power, that's the heat kind of temperature set right here to P6, power level 6. When we hit that 10 mark, we're gonna wanna pull it down a little bit. For larger volume roasts, this would start off a little bit higher, but because we're doing only 450, that's about a sample size roast. We start off lower so that we don't burn those beans right away. Over here we have our software. This is an awesome piece of software, kind of just lets me monitor what's going on, but actually so much more than that. I can save roast profiles. I can monitor the rate of rise versus the temperature, kind of like on the display right on the roaster, and also adjust temperature, adjust drum speed, adjust fan speed to get these roasts right from software if I don't want to touch the roaster at all. All right, now we're getting into kind of the yellowing phase. That's the phase as the beans dry. That kind of lets us know that it's going to start entering into the development phase soon. This is where we start to listen for first crack within the next minute or two. You can see the rate of rise has kind of steadied out to between 9, 10, and 11. This is where we want it for a little while. When we hear first crack, that's when we start pulling down on the power. And you can see the beans have started turning this more yellowy brownish color, and will only get browner from here. And if you hear kids in the background, that's because I'm a dad. I have 2 kids, and they're loud. All right, just gonna zero out my second bowl here. I got an identical bowl to the one that's used for catching the beans, so that it's nice and easy to be able to swap these 2 out, zero it out, so that I get a nice fresh weight on the resulting roast. Okay, we're getting really close to first crack here. We're gonna pull this trier and check on progress a little more closely. Looking good. We must have about a minute left before we hear first crack. All right, it's very possible that first crack is quiet. Oh, there was one. Here it goes, here it goes. So I just pulled power down a little bit because I noticed my rate of rise was climbing. I'm gonna pull power down even more because that was first crack right there. So that rate of rise will hopefully slow back down to about 9, 10, and we'll draw this out as long as we can. Hopefully, I'm thinking maybe 12 minutes actually. Really don't want to wait much more than about a minute after first crack. So we'll see how this goes. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get these beans into a bag. We'll let those rest, and those might come to market maybe this week, but probably the week after, since it is Monday now and market us on Thursday. I'd like for these to be well rested for whoever's going to have them. And we'll have plenty more to roast later, but right now I would love to try some right away. I should have enough here to try multiple batches of some smaller V60 brews. Time to get 8 ounces into the bag. We'll zero this out. Look at it in ounces. Eight ounces. Cool, managed 160, almost 161 grams in excess for us to try. I'm gonna steal probably 20, 25 grams of it, throw it on the V60 and give it a first test, day one review. Now with light roasts, day one testing can be really dangerous because light roast profiles, especially if they are fruitier in nature, those coffees tend to develop and get into peak freshness about a week after the roast day. So sometimes it can be really difficult to pick up on the distinct fruit notes or whatever else might be present. So we'll try it. We'll see what we get. If I can even get a hint of pineapple, I will be so excited. This is such a wild profile, new for me. So let's see what we can pull out of it. So we're gonna figure out the ratio here a little bit. I always like to do 1/16 standardized. So 16 multiplied by the bean weight, so that's 21. We'll just call it 21 times 16. That's 336, and then I like to add on about 30 grams for the water to pre-wet the filter, warm up the carafe a little bit. 366 is what we're gonna put in here. We got our filter in there, and as soon as the water is nice and hot, we'll pour 40 through the filter. Just helps remove some of the taste of the filter before we get the bloom going on this brew. And we'll go ahead and finish this brew up. Now you see it's very, very bubbly, almost fizzy looking. That's pretty typical of a freshly like day of roast to be brewing it like that. A couple days later, as the carbon dioxide escapes these beans, it'll look a little less fizzy and more like kind of what you know the bloom should look like. Give that a little shake. I found that high agitation does help expand that flavor range, that profile, to make things a little bit more distinct and easier to pick up on. do get some sweetness in the aroma.
A little bit of citrus.
Yeah, definitely kind of a citrus.
It's got a tea-like scent to it.
It's a little hot still. I'm gonna let it cool down. It's pretty typical to not be able to taste a range, a profile, when it's kind of really hot right off the brew. I brewed at 194, actually 196 maybe, so I'm thinking let this cool down for a couple of seconds and it'll open up that ability to taste that range.
I definitely get that pineapple.
Yeah, if you let it linger on the sides of your palate a little bit, the sides of the tongue, there's definitely kind of a citrus sourness to it. It's not like syrupy or heavy at all. It is more tea-like in body.
Or herbal.
There's definitely like that like white rind pineapple kind of like acidity for sure.
There was a tea that I used to get down at a tea shop in Kalamazoo. It was called a blood orange honey oolong, and this is very similar to that.
Yeah, I get a citrusiness to it, and I guess if I had to put something to it, it wouldn't be like an orange citrus. It would be more towards the lemon, maybe even lime, the way this is now. But I think pineapple is a fair description. Again, this is day one. For some of these lights with fruits that are supposed to be forward and heavy, it's easy to lose some of that before the carbon dioxide kind of appropriately discharges off of the beans. So I think on day 3, day 4, day 5, we're really gonna see this profile explode. I've had coffees like Ethiopia Kambata wait and rest for 3 full weeks before blueberry, and that coffee becomes extremely apparent. So, you know, day 1 sometimes isn't the day you actually want to taste for the range and for the fruit notes, but still, even still, it's still a good coffee. That's it, just roasted the Rwanda day 1. This is a pretty cool coffee, different from any profile I have worked with before, so I'm going to be curious to see how this one develops over the next week or so. And that's it. Pretty much just a quick roast and brew video, not much else to it. I'm gonna probably make more like these and kind of develop the style and format of how I wanna actually deliver content. So if you like this, give it a thumbs up. A sub always helps. You might be one of the first. And see you next time.